Throughout history, there have been countless unexplainable stories, events, and moments captured on audio. These horrifying tapes were archived, never to be heard again. Until now. These are the tapes of trepidation. Tape number 96. For Sandra. I got the call that night on December 25th, 2011. The call that would change my life forever. Not that it would go on much longer without you. I felt the cold winter breeze slice through my throat as I tried to scream when I arrived at the scene of the wreck that used to be your car. I dropped to my knees in bitter agony as the white, glistening snow crunched around me like cracking bones. After that, I don't remember the night very clearly. In fact, it feels like it was ripped out of my very memory. It was a lovely evening, but you had left and gone somewhere. You weren't dead. However, I refused everyone's lies because I knew you were still out there somewhere. So I went searching. I went searching for you, Sandra. Now the only fragments of you left from that night have faded into ash and dust. I knew that you couldn't be dead, because death wasn't real. To say someone dies might imply that everything just goes to the dark despair of invisible sins after they shuffle off their mortal coil. But I knew there had to be more to it than that. I knew life was something everlasting in bliss and harmony. That when you were gone from this world, you were just somewhere else. Somewhere better. Sandra, I searched, and I searched. I searched for so long. I searched all corners of almost every realm of cold and harsh darkness for you. But you weren't there. You were never there. I wanted to give up so badly. But I knew I couldn't let you go because if I did, I would lose myself again. I would get lost in the never-ending pit of the horrid desolation of darkness again. I dashed my way through so many shades of forlorn darkness to find you, Sandra. But none had any glorious light waiting for me. So I stopped looking. I just stopped and sat there inside the emotionless, cold, and brutal darkness with my brittle bones rotting away inside of me, just waiting for their demise. As the darkness slowly crept toward me, I remembered your cheerful, joy-filled voice, which at that time only carried on in my memories. I grinned at the thought of seeing you again. There I sat, just pitying my own existence for days on end, thinking of you and how I'd never see you again. You taught me to get through thousands of days of endless darkness. But without you, I was worthless. I couldn't even find you. I was not meant for this world. I was meant for the darkness. I was meant to be worthless. I was meant for death. That was how it should have been. I should have paid for my worthless existence with every cadaver and soul for just being there to take up space on the plane of existence. I knew all of this was true. And yet, I didn't want to give up once I heard sirens. Whether it was just human instinct, or if it was just being plain greedy, I did not know at the time. So yes, I tried to stay for myself. Everything was still black and getting darker. But I knew I could hear sirens and voices rattling about. Suddenly, a faint light out in the distance grew larger and larger ahead of me. It was no glorious light of absolution, but it was certainly warmer than the bitter despair I had felt in the darkness. I tried to reach out, but my dissolving bones couldn't take it, and my arms lay silent on the ground. Next, I tried yelling and crying for help, but my jaw was misplaced and not enabled for use. My eyes started to singe as I began to sob. I slowly cracked my frail, dissolving bones into place and tried reaching up for the now fading light. My bones shifted in and out of place with every movement I made. As I reached up towards the dimming light ahead of me, I screamed in pain and heard a long, loud beep before the soothing light grew to pitch black again, just to fit the room. I fell to my knees, which hurt like hell, but I didn't care, for a new, even brighter light had started to develop over top of me. I just sat there watching as the light shone away the darkness and dried my acrid tears. As a hand reached out before me, suddenly, my body was completely restored, and I could reach back with ease. And I felt your warmth again, Sandra. This has been tape number 96, For Sandra, by the Tapes of Trepidation Horror Narration Podcast. For Sandra was written by Refreshing Demise and was originally posted on the Creepypasta Wiki. Narration, production, and sound design for this episode was by me, TJ Hodder. Credits for music and any additional sound design can be found in the show notes. The Tapes of Trepidation theme was written by the incredible J.M. Scherf. All logos, banners, overlays, and graphic design work was provided by the talented Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts. If you have a story you would like to submit or a question regarding the show, please contact us at tapesoftrepidationpodcast@gmail.com. Support the show by subscribing and leaving a rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcatcher, or like and subscribe on YouTube. And be sure to tell your friends. Word of mouth is extremely helpful to a podcast like this one. And check us out on social media through the link tree in the show notes. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. I say it all the time, but if you listen to this podcast and you're not on the Tapes of Trepidation Discord, you're missing out. There's a wonderful community over there of supporters of the show, friends, fellow podcasters, all really great people. You're gonna have a good time over there, I promise. We keep things pretty light and fun. And it's also the best way to keep up with everything that goes on with the podcast. And if you'd like to support the show a little more, consider joining the Tapes of Trepidation Patreon, where for as little as $5 a month, you can gain access to monthly bonus short story / micropasta narrations, the weekly behind-the-scenes podcast within the archive, and more. So come, join us, and become trapped within the archive, just like my current patrons: Doozer Pin Dan, Ronan Komori, Patrick Stewart, Madam Strangeways, Dr. Torment, Tori, Queen Cam, and Kai Faden. Thank you all so much for the support. I seriously couldn't do this without you guys. All content used on Tapes of Trepidation is either original, used with permission, or is available on your Creative Commons by Share-alike license. All rights reserved, unless otherwise stated. Licensing information can be found in the show notes. This podcast and its content may not be redistributed or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Tapes of Trepidation and the story's author. Thank you all so much,